One of the major things Shoaff taught me when I met him, he said, poor thinking habits keeps most people poor. Not poor working habits. Most people work hard, but they don't think hard. And Shoaff taught me that the mind is like a factory, a mental factory. And whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this mental factory. And that's what builds the economic, social, financial fabric of your life. He quoted me a Bible phrase that says, as you think, so you become. How awesome. When he talked about poor thinking habits, he had me. I used to start the day reading the morning newspaper. I mean, you can believe that or not. I'd get a cup of coffee and read the paper. I'd load up on wars and riots and murders and stabbings and killings and bank robberies and muggings and car wrecks and tragedies. I'd even read the back pages. I seem to like that stuff for some weird reason. I'd load up on all that, and then I'd start the day. You can imagine the kind of days I used to have. You walk around on your financial knees. They call you economic peewee. The guy says, I want to be a great leader. Wonderful. The first thing we do is follow him to his house. When we get there, we walk in and check his library, number one. Somebody says, well, why check his library? The reason is because what a man reads pours massive ingredients into his mental factory, and the fabric of his life is built from those ingredients. You would not believe what some people have got in their house to read. You would not believe. One of the best dressed up words I know for a lot of it is trash. Can you imagine dumping a barrel of trash into this mental factory every day and coming out with a rich, dynamic, positive life? It can't be done. You might as well try making a cake with cement. The kids back in Danbury, Connecticut, high school, they're asking me questions one day. I'm talking to the kids. Kids got good questions these days. One of them said to me, Mr. Rohn, how do you build the good life? I said, it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Here's how you build anything. Select the right ingredients, keep out the wrong ingredients, and it starts with thought. Everything starts with thought. So you must be wise and careful what you think about, because that starts everything. You got to be wise and careful. I asked the kids, what would happen if somebody dropped sugar in my coffee? They said, well, you'd be okay. I said, what if somebody dropped strychnine in my coffee? They said, well, you'd be dead. I said, correct. Lesson one, life is both sugar and strychnine. You gotta be careful. I said, what if my worst enemy drops in the sugar? They said, will you be okay? I said, what if my best friend, even by accident, drops in the strychnine? They said, well, you'd be dead. I said, correct. Lesson two, watch your coffee. You got to be careful. See, it doesn't matter who hands you the bad stuff. It doesn't matter where you get the bad stuff. It'll still do its damage on your bank account, wherever you get it. Mr. Shoaff gave me one of the greatest phrases when I first met him, when he said, Jim, every day stand guard at the door of your mind. How important. Stand guard at the door of your mind. And you decide what goes into your mental factory. Don't let anybody just dump anything they want to in your mental factory, because you've got to live with the result.
We may not realize it, but we're always feeding ourselves. What we watch, listen to, the people we're around, the thoughts we're dwelling on, that's feeding our inner man. If you go to lunch with people that talk bad about the boss, make fun of a coworker, put down a friend, they're feeding you gossip, feeding you jealousy, feeding you disrespect. Here's the key. Whatever you feed is going to grow. You may not like what they're feeding you. You're a nice person. But if you continue to hang around them, before long, you'll be gossiping. You'll be critical. You'll be disrespectful. Why? Because you kept feeding the wrong things. If you're always feeding negative thoughts, thinking, I'll never get well, I'll never meet the right person, you're feeding doubt, feeding mediocrity, feeding fear. A man told me how he spent years of his life on drugs and alcohol, and it had ruined his marriage. He wasn't there for his children. Now he was so down on himself, so discouraged. What was he doing? Feeding the guilt, feeding the regret, feeding the blame. If you feed guilt, it's going to get bigger. If you feed fear, it's going to become larger. What if you spent that same energy feeding your faith, feeding your hopes, feeding your dreams? What are you allowing in your spirit? The people you're spending time with, the thoughts you're dwelling on all day, is that inspiring you, building your faith, pushing you towards your dreams? Or is it junk food, feeding you guilt, mediocrity, negativity, causing you to compromise? A friend of mine was diagnosed with a serious illness. The doctor put him on a very strict diet. He couldn't eat any sugar, any flour, any meat. It was only raw vegetables, nuts, grains, very limited. Now I asked him if he was going to do it. He said, "What do you mean, am I going to do it? I don't have a choice. My life depends on it." Today, I'm putting you on a new diet. Not physically, but for your inner man. No more junk food. No more dwelling on thoughts of worry, fear, I don't have what it takes. No more hanging around people that are feeding you negativity, causing you to compromise. No more guilt, condemnation, I'm all washed up. Your prescription is for faith food. Feed your hopes, feed your dreams, feed your confidence, feed your destiny. Well, Joel, I'm not that talented. I don't have a good personality. I'm not as attractive as my friend. Quit feeding the insecurity. That's not on your diet. Your diet is what God says about you. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am one of a kind, a masterpiece made in the image of God. When you feed your value will get stronger. You feed your faith like that, what's happening is the doubt is getting weaker and weaker. Before long, you'll starve the doubt. I have some flowers in my backyard. One summer, it was very dry, and of course, very hot here in Houston, and the sprinkler system couldn't keep up. So every afternoon, I'd go out and water those flowers with my hose. About 40 feet away, over in the corner, there were a bunch of weeds, a couple feet tall. And I noticed a few weeks later, all those weeds had died off. They didn't have any water. My flowers were just as beautiful as can be. What you don't feed will eventually die. You may have some weeds in your life today. We all do. Weeds of guilt, weeds of negativity. Don't be alarmed by the weeds. Just don't make the mistake of watering the weeds. Don't give them any energy. Don't let them take up any space in your mind. What you quit watering will eventually go away. If you came over to my backyard and saw me out there watering the weeds, you would think, what is wrong with that man? That doesn't make sense. He's watering something he doesn't want. Are you watering what you don't want? The enemy's main tool is deception. He would love for you to go through life watering the weeds, spending your energy dwelling on fear, doubt, insecurity, mistakes of the past. Don't fall into that trap. When thoughts tell you nothing good is in your future, it's all downhill from here, instead of watering that weed, feeding the discouragement, turn the hose the other way. Water what God says about you. When you're in a tough time, instead of feeding the doubt, I'm stuck here, nothing's ever going to change, feed your faith. I'm coming out, God always causes me to triumph. This too shall pass. Whatever you're feeding is getting stronger. Don't feed what you don't want. Maybe you've had bad breaks in life and things haven't turned out the way you had hoped. You could easily be discouraged. Don't feed the self-pity. Don't water what didn't work out. Quit reliving the hurts. You can't feed your history and feed your destiny at the same time. If you're using all your energy to feed your past, you're not going to have the energy you need to feed your future. What's happened to you is over and done. How you were raised, what you didn't get, who hurt you, who you lost. I say it respectfully, that's history. That's behind you. You cannot go into a new season if you're always looking back at the old. Those doors are closed. It may not have been fair, but God is fair. He knows how to make it up to you, but you have to let go of what didn't work out. Quit putting energy into negative things of the past. If you're feeding the hurts, feeding the offense, feeding the betrayal, it's just like you're watering resentment, watering bitterness, watering discouragement. The way to get past it is you have to starve it. Quit dwelling on it. Quit thinking about what you didn't get, who hurt you, how you can prove to them that they shouldn't have left you. If you will put that same energy into your destiny, believing for new beginnings, expecting God's favor, then God will give you beauty for those ashes. God will make up for the wrongs. You don't have to pay anybody back. God will be your vindicator. But we all go through things in life that are not fair. The scripture says offenses will come, betrayals will come, bad breaks, loss, things we don't understand. It's painful enough when they happen, but if you make the mistake of feeding the fear, feeding the offense, feeding the hurt, then it's going to continue to be painful. You cannot get well if you're always reopening the wounds, reliving the negative. That's making it worse. Yes, it can feel good to our flesh to hold on to hurt, hold on to self-pity. You may have a valid reason to feel that way. Somebody did you wrong. You came down with an illness. The company laid you off. But when you're feeding the past, you are putting energy into something that's taking you backwards. It's tempting to hold on. Sometimes you wake up, it's on the forefront of your mind. You have to ask yourself, am I going to keep watering these weeds? Am I going to keep putting energy into something that's taking me the wrong direction? How long are you going to mourn? How long are you going to feed your history? How long are you going to put energy into something that's taking you the wrong direction? And yes, there's a season of mourning. When you go through a loss, a disappointment, you don't have to be superhuman where you never feel anything, you never have a down moment, but you can't let a season of mourning turn into a lifetime of mourning. At some point you have to say, yes, I'm disappointed. Yes, I'm hurt. A prayer didn't get answered the way I'd hoped, but this is a new day. I'm not feeding my history anymore. I'm letting go of what didn't work out. I'm not dwelling on my disappointments. I'm not reliving my hurts. I'm putting my energy into my destiny. I'm getting ready for the new things God has in store.
I encourage people to read at a minimum of 30 to 40 pages of something positive every day to program your mind, and all of us can do that. We can go to the library and check out books. When I think about Og Mandino, who wrote The Greatest Salesman in the World, he was on the verge of committing suicide, went to the library, read the book Think and Grow Rich, and his life turned around. So reading and programming ourselves, the reason that most people should do that, psychologists say that 86% of our self-talk is negative, and it goes undetected by the conscious mind. That's why we're taught, be ye not conformed to this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Listen to recordings and things that are positive. Go on YouTube and find things that will begin to empower you. And minimize the distractions in your life. We have so many distractions. The weapons of mass distractions cause most people not to begin to live their lives from the inside out, but from the outside in. You know, there's an African proverb that said, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm.